Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 112 of the Wise Guys Sports Show here on the Wise Guys YouTube channel. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and with our late start, I am going to waste no time and bring in my co-host, Mr. JC Blue Note, James Carnity. And Jim, happy Sunday, sir. Happy June 1st. What the fuck?
You realize at the end of this month, not only are we going to be looking ahead to the 4th of July, we're probably also going to be getting ready for our summer vacation, but the year's going to be half over.
It doesn't even fucking compute, dude.
I mean, at least for me, it definitely doesn't compute because we're finally going to be getting above 60 degrees, maybe even into 70 for the first time since we had a heat wave in late April tomorrow. So it's finally going to feel like fucking spring up here. And yet summer's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, where we used to live, they have a frost warning tonight. It was 90 degrees.
I mean, you also figure they say climate change and everything. It's you got to figure we're at least 2 to 3 weeks behind schedule with all the temperatures, which means we're going to have Indian summer into Halloween. We're going to have a green Christmas. We're going to have a blizzard into fucking, Mother's Day next year.
But James, we started off a little late, had some technical stuff going on because fuck technology. And
not so much fuck technology, but just, long story short, I just told Mike off the air I have to now start recording my videos for the Sports Note with my camera on my phone, and naturally the camera on the phone is a lot better than the one on the Chromebook, which means it's now doubling the export time when I have to edit it to be able to prepare it for YouTube because you can't do it on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. But so we are going to jump right into the blast because we got 2 championship rounds to preview. Baseball coming up. Let's jump right in.
It's the 3 biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
And topic number 1 is something that Jim and I both thought we'd be previewing with a much happier disposition than we do tonight. And that is the NBA Finals are set as the Eastern Conference champion Indiana Pacers for the first time in 25 years, which is pretty cool. Will play the Western Conference and number one overall seed in the playoffs, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 1 Thursday night in OKC. Jim, I got to tell you, I think this is the biggest mismatch you could have. He's got to pop away from it, so I'm just going to fill. This could be the biggest mismatch we've had in the finals in a long time. I don't think, as good as Indiana played to get through Cleveland and New York, they have never seen defense like Oklahoma City can bring. Oklahoma City, for the first time in these series, Indiana is not going to have the best player on the floor, because Tyrese Halliburton was the best player on the floor the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. Even though Pascal Siakam was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which I disagree with. I think it should have been Halliburton, but the numbers Siakam put up were phenomenal. This is the first time since, well, I can't tell you the last time Indiana took a playoff court and didn't have the best player on the court in Tyrese Halliburton, but they will not come Thursday night, and that is the reigning MVP, SGA. So, Jim, really, I just want to get your take on this quick, because there's not a whole lot we're really going to dive into this. I mean, I think we'll make a pick. But, Jim, is the fact that Indy's going into the first series all year, or all playoff season, without the best player on the court, is that what's going to get Oklahoma City their first championship, or do you think the Siakam-Halliburton tandem can get this thing done?
I would like to think that they can, because we got to remember it would be their first championship in Oklahoma, but they did win in '79 when they were still back in Seattle. That was Lenny Wilkins' team. Indiana, again, only having the one final appearance and kind of getting run off the floor in 6 by Shaq and Kobe that year. But I would think that, I mean, Indiana kind of was a little banged up towards the end of Game 6 last night, with Miles Turner, possibly having a knee injury. Siakam, took one low, and also might have actually had a little bit of a knee kind of collision. Um, I think it's and I think if Indiana's going to have a shot here, they're going to have to be a little bit more physical than Oklahoma City. But the difference is that Oklahoma City's played some really good teams, but they haven't played a team that plays defense this well, especially out on the perimeter, where Oklahoma City really just kills everybody. The Knicks were one of the more physical teams in the playoffs. The Cavs were one of the bigger teams in the playoffs. And Indiana ran really roughshod right through both of them. Mike, this also might be. We can even talk about this going into with the NHL. Is that, can you ever remember a year where the two winter into spring sports, the closeout games, have not been close at all? That they've basically been blowouts every chance you've seen.
2016. That Cavs team ran, I mean, granted, they end up going 6 against Toronto after winning 1 and 2 in Cleveland, losing 3 and 4 in Toronto, winning 5 in Cleveland, and then just trouncing them on their home floor in Game 6. And, of course, Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals that year, Golden State took off and ran away from Oklahoma City after being down 3-1, excuse me. That's the last time I can remember it being blowouts.
But I mean, look, the Knicks ran the Celtics off the floor in the clincher. Indiana ran the Knicks off the floor. Indiana ran the Cavs off the floor. Oklahoma City ran everybody off the floor in their clincher. The Lakers got run off the floor in games in Game 5 in that series.
I think it would have to be 2016. Because those two teams in Golden State and Cleveland that season, remember, the Cavs lost 2 games in the entire Eastern Conference, and it was those two.
Right.
So, you go 12-2 in your run to the finals. you're going to beat some people's ass. And that's what they did. And Golden State was launching dudes too. So it's like, that seemed to be the last time I've seen this. Now, multiple series, that's a different animal because those was two teams doing it. Multiple teams doing it in closeout games. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that really ever. Not in my recollection, anyway.
Yeah.
But if you had to take a guess, James, what do you think?
I like the Thunder to win this in 6. I would love to see the Pacers get it. Not anything for a Cavs fan. Well, a little bit as a Cavs fan. You always want to actually, if you're going to go out and get embarrassed, you want to get embarrassed by the team that ends up winning the whole thing.
Agreed.
And let's be honest, the Cavs got embarrassed, in that
They did.
series. I didn't actually think that they would bully the Knicks like they did. Game 5 being an anomaly back in the Garden and everything. But the Pacers have also found that not only can they win on the road, they can win convincingly on the road. And they are definitely battle tested, but I'm not sure if really they're ready for something like this. My heart says Indiana. My head says Oklahoma City. I think Indiana is going to get at least 1, if not 2. But let's actually see, could they actually go into Oklahoma City and steal one? Now, if they go down 0-2, by the time we're back on the air next weekend, we're looking at sweep or gentleman's sweep. But if they can get 1, you can never really count Indiana out, considering just how great and how dominant they've been at home as well these entire playoffs.
Agreed. I look at it differently. I think it's going to be Oklahoma City in 7. One thing Indiana has not had to do is go into another team's arena and win a must-win game. That's
I
a
don't know.
different animal.
I don't see this going 7. I really don't. I think these two teams just are very, very capable of capitalizing on one team having an off night or making adjustments to turn it into an off night, and somebody's going to get run off the floor. I see at least if this series goes 5, I see 3 blowouts in this series.
See, I see it differently, and here's why. Could 3 blowouts happen in the first 5 games? Absolutely. Oh my God. I mean, the way these two teams can play, especially if you remember the 2 games Oklahoma City played against the Cavs, you had that one night when it was just like a symphony of basketball, and then the Cavs went in and just got their domes rocked in OKC. Where I think it's going to be a little different is that these two teams do the same things well, if you think about it. They play good defense on the perimeter. They have guys who can bang underneath, and they have a star who can score at the drop of a hat. I think Oklahoma City is a little deeper than Indiana, but I think be honest with you, Jim, I think it's going to be 2-2 after 4, where the home team wins all 4 games. I think OKC is going to go up 0-2 the first 2 games in Oklahoma City. Indiana wins the 2 in Indianapolis to make it 2-2. And it's a race to 4 after that. And you got 2 out of 3 games in Oklahoma City. This could be like the 0-1 World Series where the home team won every game. So that's where I see this going. SGA is going to be the finals MVP because it's always the superstar on the team that wins. And we're going to talk about this guy doing something that KD, Russ, and Harden couldn't do. And that's get the job done.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I was driving home from work and I heard the argument on the radio, and I'd like to bring it up with you. If SGA can get this done, and it would only be he's only 6 years in the league. This is 5 with Oklahoma City. Does he eclipse Durant and Westbrook as the greatest Thunder player in franchise history since the move from Seattle, because he did the one thing that they couldn't?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Even though both of those guys have MVPs and tons of NBA records, and Durant's in the top of what? He's already in the top 10 in league scoring in all time.
So let's talk about this as just time in Oklahoma City. Each guy will have won an MVP, all 3 of them. Only one of them will have a championship if OKC gets this done. And that's the guy who's the best player. Sorry. I mean, you can talk all you want about you had the argument earlier on ESPN because they're where they're based. Is Jalen Brunson one of the greatest Knicks ever? Really? Patrick backed them to a finals and got disrespected on the way out the door, which is why I'm a Cavs fan now. Let's not be stupid. If SGA gets this done, he'll have done everything Westbrook and Durant did in that uniform, except he won a championship. There you go. There's the argument right there.
I think Indiana's got a little bit more in the intangible factor. I definitely think Oklahoma City's going to. This is going to be, to use the Gorilla Monsoon term, immovable force versus irresistible object. You've got Oklahoma City, who's got the capability of dropping 130 on you in the drop of a hat. Just with the way that they can run. Whereas Indiana's going to grind and grind and grind you out. They're going to make you earn every bucket, regardless of where it is on the floor. If you miss, you're going to have three very physical guys looking to bang on you to get that rebound between Siakam, Turner, and Toppin. And then, you've got a guy in Halliburton who, if it wasn't for the greatness of SGA and Jokic this year, Halliburton would have been in the MVP conversation. He's certainly got to be looked at if the NBA did kind of their version of the Conn Smythe Trophy of entire playoffs MVP. I gotta say, even though SGA won the regular season MVP, you cannot pass over Tyrese Halliburton as the NBA playoffs MVP right now.
Oh, absolutely not. I agree with you 100%. Where I think the difference is going to be is I think the guys who play big for Oklahoma City are a little more athletic than the guys that play big for Indiana. Chet Holmgren has come into his own very well this season, especially this postseason. And I'm sorry, Oklahoma City will walk into that building every night, no matter whether it's in Indianapolis or it's in Oklahoma City, with the best player on the floor. Every single game. You can't knock that. I mean, come on, not for nothing. We saw 4 straight trips to the finals from 14 or 15 to 18, where that's the only reason the Cavs got there. Especially 2018.
That's entirely, and we got to go back a little bit here. It's I don't want to say we're going back to 2016, but we've got 2 legendary caliber players really that are just hitting their prime right now. Last year we had, if you look at last year, you had lightning in a bottle with Boston and Dallas. Luka, great, but let's also be honest that Jaylen Brown and I mean Boston had the 2 best players. The 2 best players in the finals were both on the Celtics last year, and that was Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Luka was great, but he wasn't in their league last year. By the
Luka
time
was gassed. Luka was gassed in the finals.
That's what happens when you're 25 years old and you've got the body of a 43-year-old.
Or that's what happens when you're 25 years old and they've been carrying teams since you were 16. Weight gets to be a bunch. So I like Oklahoma City in 7. Jim, you said you like Oklahoma City in either 5 or 6. It's now on the internet, dude, which means we're locked into these picks, whether we like it or not.
I mean, just obviously Vegas, because I took it straight from FanDuel there, for the Thunder to come in as a 750 favorite on the money line. Yeah. And I mean, who's to say that they don't come out and they don't smoke Indiana in game 1? Could that number balloon up to 1,200 at this point? Is it mathematical at that point?
Yeah. If they blow them out in game 1, then Indiana's got to be like, okay, we haven't been blown out really. What the fuck?
We haven't been blown out early. We've been blown out late in the series, but we've already had the advantage. The Knicks again in the Garden, blew them out in game 5.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, Oklahoma City, Minnesota came back and got them in game 1, and then, Oklahoma City realized, wait a minute, we won 68 games this year.
Yeah.
We were the best team in basketball by more than 3 games. Um, and it's not even so much a fact of Houston as the 2 seed going out in the first round. The Lakers, the most overrated 3 seed in playoff history, getting smacked around by Minnesota in 5 games after, you know, that series went 1-1, and then and now granted it was a close, series by the final score, but we could definitely tell who the better team was.
Yeah.
With the East, you had the 2 top teams going out, uh, but the Knicks as a 3 and the Pacers as a 4. The Pacers won 50 games. The Knicks won 53 games. Uh,
Yeah.
this year. These the 2 teams in the East definitely deserve to be there. I don't want to say Oklahoma City backed into where they are, but they're just so dominant that it just gives that appearance right now. Um, because this was definitely a scenario where the East, the better overall teams might have been in the West, but the better suited teams were in the East, and it was definitely
Yes.
a dogfight. It's just now really a matter of how much does Indiana have in the tank after going through Cleveland, going through Milwaukee, going through uh, uh, the Knicks, in a 6-game series that felt like it went 9 at some points.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. This is definitely coming down to who's got it in the tank. And unfortunately for Indianapolis, they faced the bigger test in the conference finals.
Which is kind of funny because even though we'll talk about it in the second half of the show, is that, being in Indianapolis, you'd figure they should have plenty of gas in the tank to get around the track.
Hit the fucking buzzer. Jesus Christ. I swear to God.
Rusty cunt bucket.
Move on. Okay.
On that note, I'm going to play 2 buzzers here. As we move
Okay,
on to
have
segment
both.
number 2, because we got a little bit of history going on. Now we shift from the hardwood to the ice. For the first time since the 2008 and 2009 Stanley Cup playoffs, we've got a rematch. Only this time, the defending champions will be slight, very, very slight underdogs, but Edmonton is going to have the home ice advantage here, uh, as the Oilers dispatch the Stars in 6, and then the Panthers really kind of had their way with the Hurricanes in 5 in that series.
Jim, do you remember when we were in high school and you had the Twisted Christmas carols
Yes.
that people would sing? One came to mind when I saw this matchup, and it was "Didn't I Get This Last Year?" Um, I think we called this though, didn't we?
We
When we talked
kind
about
of
the playoffs?
did, although there were, remember, we were actually thinking that when Toronto went up 2-0, would Toronto be the ones coming out of the East? And then and this is where, going back to the last segment, that I was this is the prime example of teams getting run off the ice in clinchers. Um, Edmonton, after Dallas punches them in the mouth in game 1, Edmonton just basically dominates, 4 of the next 5 games. We all thought that the better goaltender was going to win in each of the conference finals. Bobrovsky coming off a title with the Panthers, and that we all thought it was going to be Jake Ottinger with Dallas. And
Mhm.
Ottinger has the story of the entire Western Conference playoffs, let's be honest, going out there, giving up a goal on the first shot, a goal on the second shot, and gets pulled 8 minutes into the clincher, and then the Oilers run out to a 3-0 lead after 1. Dallas cuts into it, gets it to 3-2, and then Edmonton just basically opens it back up, gets it to 4-2, and then gets an empty netter late. But this was more as great as Ottinger played in the first 2 rounds, as great as Antti Rantanen played, for the Stars, that we were all thinking if they would have gone through to the finals, that Rantanen was going to end up winning the Conn Smythe for how dominant he was. Connor McDavid woke up.
Yeah, and that's, I think, going to be the difference in this series. To be very going back to the NBA Finals, Oklahoma City walks in with the best player on the court. Edmonton walks in with the best player on the ice. What he did really from probably the second half of the third period of game one through the end of that series, he was inspired. He was phenomenal. I watched highlight packages, obviously, with the kid and my limited attention span all of a sudden.
And then also those games starting later out on the West Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm too tired. I'm old for this shit. Watching the highlight packages, he just looked like a man possessed. And I don't think he wants it.
Yeah.
You can say the players want the cup. This dude wants it. And he's got an entire country on his back.
For multiple reasons, because let's look at it. I know that they threw the graphic up after Edmonton had clinched on Friday night. But and I don't necessarily mind the later starts with these, where the NBA Finals, we've got a gap all the way up until Thursday. The Stanley Cup doesn't start until Wednesday. Give these teams a few extra days rest. It kind of gives a little bit of that Super Bowl mentality
Yes.
But I mean, here's the problem now. Really, for the next, tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, we've only got baseball on the slate, and it's just regular season. We don't really have anything else to kind of keep our attention span. For you, it's great. For me, it's the only thing that's out there.
The Mets are in LA. It doesn't matter to me right now.
So,
I'll be sleeping.
But with the Oilers last year, they didn't know what they were going to get out of Stuart Skinner in net, and now Stuart Skinner has actually, after having that injury in the second round, we didn't actually think remember, he got carted off the ice after getting hit in the head.
Yeah.
And then so did Anthony Stolarz with Toronto. The difference is that Stolarz came back and ran into a buzzsaw. Skinner's come back and has just been arguably the best goaltender on the ice right now. And you're right. The Oilers have they've got the best player on the planet without question. He wants it. He's got the whole country on his back, because Edmonton's last cup, I want to say, was 91. And we're at 33, we're at 32 years since Canada's won. Montreal in 93. But the last 3 times that we've had a rematch in the finals, the team who got beat the year before turned around and got the cup the next year. And so
that much I remember.
So
what was
Pittsburgh and Detroit? Yeah, Pittsburgh and Detroit
first cup was like that.
Was the most recent one in 08, 09. Each one of them got it. The first one that we can remember in our lifetime was, the Islanders beating Gretzky in 83, and then 84, Gretzky gets his revenge, and then the Oilers go on their dynasty of 4 cups in 7 years, and break the one record in sports outside of Cal's streak that's never going to get broken in the Islanders' 19 playoff series wins. 19 consecutive playoff series wins.
Yeah. Here's what I look for. I think Florida is going to attack in a way we haven't seen them attack most of the playoffs in game 1 to try and get one. What's their coach's name again? We adore him.
Paul Maurice.
Paul Maurice is going to go in there and be like, listen, we got to get one, and we got to get it now. Because those guys know that Edmonton knows they can win on their ice and Holiday. What you don't know is how you're going to react to having to be on the road for a game 7 when you hosted it the year before.
Right.
We were on the air for game 7 last year, weren't we?
We were. We had gone off
So,
just before the game had ended.
yep. But Jim, I think, in the words of Shamar Moore, the streak is over. I think McDrysaddle gets this done.
I think the dispute between last year and this year, we've got the home ice switching. The Oilers finished 3 points better than the Panthers in the overall standings, so that's why they're going to get the Duke. Um, going into Rogers Center, very hostile environment. Best ice in North America for a professional hockey team. Everyone says year after year after year. Best goal horn. Arguably, you know, certainly in our lifetime, the more historic of the Canadian franchises for how dominant they've been, because a lot of Montreal's success was when we were born or before that. Edmonton's got 5 cups in that time. No other teams come anywhere close to that. But again, they actually haven't been in this position before. Chris Knobloch is right now challenging Paul Maurice for the best coach in the playoffs. We know what Paul Maurice is capable of. We know how class of a guy he is. We know how fiery of a guy he is. Chris Knobloch is not that with the Oilers. He realizes what he's got, and he's not so much. This is not the player. This is not a LeBron scenario where McDavid is the best and kind of commands this. Knobloch knows how to pair his lines perfectly to where everyone from the top all the way down. Corey Perry at 40 years old is arguably a top 5 contributor on this Edmonton Oilers squad.
Yeah, I would say you have fire against tactics in this series. Almost like the old school go with your gut type coach against the analytic guy, which it's the argument in every sport right now. What's a better way to do it? You got to have a little of both. I think between the coaching, and again, Paul Maurice is an absolute fucking dog. Between the coaching, having McDavid playing as a man possessed, and Draisaitl. One of them was Draisaitl hurt last year?
Yes.
Somebody on that. Okay.
Yeah. Remember, he got slashed in the hand in one of those games and was never really the same.
Yeah, and you're coming in here with both of your top dogs healthy and Skinner playing well in net. That's a pretty good recipe in the NHL in the Stanley Cup Finals to get it done. I mean, if you can go all the way back to the Rangers in '94. Leach and Messier were playing well, and Mike Richter was standing on his head, and in 7 games they won the cup. It's mathematic at that point in time.
Can we also say that I would be the least bit surprised here if Florida repeated, because you don't get 3 straight finals, on a whim at this point. They were healthy last year. They avenged being banged up going into the finals against Vegas 2 years ago. They're primarily healthy right now. They've been playing arguably better, but I think Edmonton's a little bit more battle tested because a lot of people were kind of penciling Dallas in, from the outset when the pairings were announced, coming out of the West. There were some, I mean, and remember, Edmonton went 7 against LA, a very upstart LA team. And a lot of people had Dallas winning that series in 5, and Edmonton turns around and wins in 5. And, I'm not trying to equate this to what when the Blues won the cup, where San Jose kind of punched them in the mouth in game 1 in the Western Conference Finals in 2019, and then the Blues outscored them like by 15 goals over the next 3 games. But I mean, Edmonton's not been that dominating, but they're really, really damn close. And the fact is, Edmonton's got the capability right now of putting up 5. Skinner may let in 2 or 3, maybe 4. But the problem is that, again, they've got the ability to come right back and get another one to put that 2-goal cushion back on there in the blink of an eye.
And that's going to be the difference. As good as Florida is, they're They're like Indiana. They're the grind it out. You know, that's the type of team they are. Meanwhile, you can be down 3 goals to Edmonton like that.
which Dallas pretty much was after the first period, Friday night.
Exactly. So I like Edmonton in this. I believe it will go 7 just because these two teams are so evenly matched. But home barn gets it done.
You got to actually figure with Edmonton, they are trying to do everything this year that they didn't do last year for the whole superstition thing. They're healthy. They're riding the same guys. They didn't really change a whole lot in their lineups. They've got the home ice, and they actually did the one thing that I never expected them to do. They touched the Campbell Bowl after winning it on Friday night. Nobody touches the bowls.
I saw that, and I saw because I saw it on TikTok, and I saw the one fan in there go absolutely fucking ape shit. She went crazy. It was a chick too. She went crazy.
Oh, Edmonton. I actually remember last year that there was a girl who went ape shit. Didn't she like flash somebody and then actually ended up getting like 300,000 followers on TikTok or something
Yeah, no,
afterward?
it was Instagram. She did. I think you and I spent a halftime looking for the video.
Yes.
We did. I never found it. I knew we were going to go there tonight. How the fuck did I know we were going to go there tonight?
To quote Harper from an episode of The Rookie, ain't no harm in looking.
By the way, off topic. I have to get into that.
I need to get back into it. It's because it's like I have no way of watching it from the beginning. I was watching it illegally, and I'm like into season 3, so I'm like 4 seasons behind. Give me something to do in the next few weeks.
There was one scene that made me want to watch it, and it has nothing to do with Nathan Fillion, who I love. The one where he gets greenlit by the Southern Front, and Tim goes, "He's a rookie, not greenlit. I got to step up my game."
Yep.
Okay.
Although I think probably my favorite scene on that show was, I know you probably haven't watched it, but you've probably seen the clips, the backstory of Tim and Dim.
This is juicy. No.
What? Why you looking like me?
No. But the better part of that is when they bring Lucy in.
Yeah.
Like, that's disturbing.
As a Rams fan, I'm also very partial to where he's watching the Rams game on the TV and then actually calls himself in for overtime.
And he stops the guy. It's you know what happens, Jim?
And then Weddle lights him up at the youth camp later in the episode.
Kike Hernandez was in this one.
Yep.
But the thing I love about it, so like Facebook videos, if you've ever sat and flipped through, because that's what I do for background noise at the office, and clips will come up. And I love Nathan Fillion, and the scene where he gets called to Lopez's dress fitting. You paged me 911 on my day off for this?
Or where he's got to he's got to break the bad news with
and he brings Jackson in the friggin'
and the riot shield.
We could go all day about that.
I'm like, how am I going to watch these next 4 seasons and get myself completely caught up when I've seen so many clips from them?
Take my Hulu password.
I'll figure something out, but let's actually we've actually talked about some championships. Let's get into some regular season talk, Michael. This is actually going to be a little bit more towards you.
Well, Jim, it's June 1st, and the pretenders fall away about this time of the year as we are literally over We're past the 1/3 pole in the Major League Baseball season. We have seen some things that have made you scratch your head. We have seen some things that make you want to throw things, and that's just being a Met fan. Dude. Let's see. The $800 million man's hitting 250.
Finally
but-
I've got it up there. He breaks a drought. He finally hit a ball over a fence that was in fair territory for like the first time in a month.
Yes, he did. And then he hit one today. But I mean, if you would have told me when we did our baseball preview that the Mets would be 37-22 and in first place on June 1st, and Soto hasn't done a damn thing, I'd ask you by how many games they're going to win the Eastern Division.
And I know I partially called it. Every time we seem to talk baseball on this show, the Detroit Tigers just seem to get better and better,
Dude,
and better and better.
Who would have thought moving Javi Baez to center field made them a better team? And I'm sorry,
Tarek Skubal is going to win another Cy Young at this point, but that's just it. They're so good. They don't need him to be that dominant right now.
They don't. And it's wonderful to see, especially, you know what? Growing up, Detroit was always a team that had a good year and then 10 or 12 down years, and then a good year and then 10 or 12 down years. I like that they're young and then they can build on this thing. I think that's great. You know, as far as the Dodgers hammering the Yankees, as we talk now, the Yankees are up 6-1 in the 6th inning. You know, I got to give Brian Cashman a little bit of credit. He put together a damn good team after the Soto thing happened. Aaron Judge is on another fucking planet.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane until the calendar flips October. And then he hits $160.
He's well on his way to winning another MVP.
He is. Going into the two teams that we have vested interest in.
But let's also be honest. As great as they're playing, the Toronto Blue Jays got hot.
They did.
5 in a row. They're only 5 back, and they've closed their run differential to only -5. Remember, this was a team that a few weeks ago we were talking about. Would Baltimore get hot and overtake them? We actually see that Baltimore is going to actually be this bad, more than likely. We thought that Toronto could be the 4th place team in that division this year. You know, does Toronto have a shot of getting back into this thing?
They do,
and we have that Jays Yankees pennant race like we did 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think Toronto gets back into it. I don't think they're going to be. I think the Yankees are going to run away and hide in the East. The Yankees have to start worrying when it gets to short series in the postseason, because you're not going to go out and see somebody's 5th starter, which is who they're beating up more often than not. But I will tell you this. The Yankees are going to end up winning the East, but they're going to have to make a big move in order to go back to another World Series. The fucking Tigers are going to run away and hide, dude. They are going to run away and hide in that division, and it's going to be who finishes in 2nd place.
Right. The Guardians and the Tigers are both 6-4 in their last 10, and yet as with Minnesota with that 13-game winning streak is now 4-6 in their last 10, and they've fallen 7 back. We posed the question the last time we talked baseball in this up front in the show of what was your biggest surprise. You actually you had brought something up with the Mets. I had actually said that the Rockies had found a way to be worse than the Azerbaijan White Sox.
Where are we sending the Rockies? Because if Alex, being the White Sox person as he was, sent the White Sox to Azerbaijan, we need to ask him where we need to send Colorado.
Well, then again, didn't we have the White Sox relocate to Minsk-Pinsk?
Yes, the White Sox went to Minsk-Pinsk, so I think we should send the Rockies to Azerbaijan.
That That would be absolutely hilarious. You take a team that's in cold weather and you throw them into the desert, essentially.
And you bring them down to sea level.
But bigger surprise right now, your biggest surprise now that we've hit the third a third of the way, Michael.
I'm going to be a little homerish with this.
You're not allowed to talk Mets here.
No, I am, but I am, but it's something that's genuinely surprising. Clay Holmes is a hell of a fucking starting pitcher. He has been downright phenomenal. He's 5 or 6 and 3. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He's putting up 5 to 7 strikeouts a start, and he's still relying on that sinker to get him out of innings. I think they turned 2 or 3 double plays today. He went 7 innings today. And yes, it was the Colorado Rockies. I get it. But this is a guy who a year ago was closing out a win in the World Series. He's been a starter since like November. He's been great. And I mean, that's my biggest surprise, because they still had the best ERA in baseball. And he's a big read. Him and Senga, but Senga was so good in 23. I knew when he was healthy, he'd be there. That's my biggest surprise. What about you?
What's the San Francisco Giants?
They are okay. Team-wise, Giants player-wise. Yeah.
They're 4-6 in their last 10. Matt Chapman is every bit the player that we thought he was going to be this year after kind of getting that fresh change in scenery. Kyle Harrison threw 5 shutout innings a couple of nights ago as they blanked the Marlins, but we all thought that this was going to be a 2-horse race between the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, but the Diamondbacks 3 games under 500.
And
Padres have got
Corbin Burns was removed from his start today.
Yeah, but the Padres still hanging in there with their massive payroll, and we all thought, would they really be able to stay that way in the 12 to 18 month process after losing Soto like they did? But nobody expected the Giants to be here. We all thought that they might hang around and make things interesting. They're a playoff team right now.
They are. They absolutely are. Another shocker for me is that Atlanta is still this bad. And yes, everybody's like, oh, well, their injuries, this, injuries, that. Yeah, I get it. Every team's had injuries. By the way, Sean Manaea still has not thrown a pitch for the New York Mets. Philly just lost Bryce Harper for 4 days because Strider hit him. And again, no intention. That's not what I'm saying. But that's why Bryce was out. Strider hit him in the elbow. He was out. You have teams like Baltimore who we have no what? That blows my mind. That family who has owned that team for so long just boned that entire franchise. They have a young core that you build some pitching around them, for Christ's sake, and they are unstoppable.
I don't even want to say what's most disappointing because we all know what's going on in Denver right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it got this bad, and we know that they've got nothing in the tank. They really didn't even have anything when Charlie Blackmon retired, after last season. But I mean, just look at the ESPN story. They lose 5-3 on Sunday, 8-game losing streak. It's their 4th 8-game losing streak this season. They are 9-50, worst record through 59 games of any major league team in the modern era. They've been swept 10 times in 20 series, which is tied with the 62 Mets, the 1970 Brewers, and the 94 Athletics for the most through 20 series. And they're the 3rd fastest team in the history of Major League Baseball, going all the way back to the late 1800s to 50 losses.
Yeah, it's bad. I will say this. I like the mentality of their manager. Today, yes, they got swept by the Mets. Friday night, they get walked off, or Mets win late. Saturday, they put the hammer down and hit a bunch of bombs. But today showed me something. And as stupid as this sounds, Mets, they tie them 3-3. Lindor hits a homer and make it 4-3. Going into the later innings, I watched a condensed game while I was shaving the face in the dome. Their manager said something to the broadcast team. He said, "We're not going to play afraid." And they didn't. They were still swiping bags. They were still trying to take extra bases when they had a chance. They're not a very highly talented team, but the mentality is going to start to pay off soon. I don't think it's this year, but the mentality is going to start to pay off where they start making some kind of a difference somewhere, which I think is very, if you're a Rockies fan, this year's going to suck. But if you watch them play, they're not going through the motions. They're playing hard. And even if they're bad, if you get a team that plays hard, it's going to turn around eventually. At some point in time, the light's going to go on. Do they need to put a picture of the owner's wife in a peelable bikini in the clubhouse? I don't know.
And we'll wrap up the segment by talking about that first aspect of the Cleveland Guardians. Remember when the Cleveland Browns had an issue about a dozen years ago where everyone was going into the Cleveland Clinic for physicals and coming out with staph infections? Something's going on with the Guardians right now that they cannot stop avoiding Tommy John surgery. Shane Bieber is expected to be back sometime next month. David Fry just got activated yesterday off Tommy John. Thankfully, he's not a pitcher, so it only took him about a year. But then now starter Ben Lively is going on Tommy John, and he will not be probably back until late 2026, if not miss all of the rest of this and next year. What is going on right now with the elbows in Cleveland?
Here's my question. And John Smoltz, who may be the most insightful analyst we have in baseball right now, that's national. I mean, you have insightful guys on the regional broadcast. The Gardos have great guys in the booth. The Mets have great guys in the booth, what have you. It seems to me like every dude the Gardos bring up is throwing 100. You cannot pitch at that velocity with that much torque on the elbow and that much ferocity and not expect human ligaments to snap. The one thing that everybody's talking about the Mets pitching lab right now, because Griffin Canning, who was god-awful, has actually been really, really good. What the lab does is they take what you do well and make you do it more. Holmes added that kick change and he throws a sinker. Okay, throw it all the time. Don't worry about the slider. Throw it all the time. And he's been good. It seems to me that a lot of teams are having elbow issues and injury issues, are preaching velo over pitching. And you can't do that. Or else you're going to have generational starter coming back from Tommy John. Good young starter going to have Tommy John. Honestly, it's a matter of time before the one kid that I love. What's his name?
Gavin Williams.
Yup.
And he was dominant today.
Yeah, it's a matter of time.
They had one of the most inauspicious half innings I've ever seen. They're up 4-0. Gavin Williams is absolutely dealing against the Angels today. And so a ball literally goes through Gabriel Arias's glove. It tears the webbing in his glove. It's hit that hard. It goes through the webbing. It's ruled as an error. It keeps the inning alive. The Angels then score 2 unearned, and then the Guardians get out of the inning because then they send up the Angels send up a pitch hitter who took so long that either he was doing it on purpose or they forgot to tell him. He gets a pitch clock violation and then gets rung up on strike 2, not remembering that he had the pitch clock violation.
Oh, can I tell you, I saw one of the funniest things in the world come out of the Guardians Angels series. Did you see the thing with Ron Washington and Hosey?
Yeah.
Ron Washington going to walk him. He goes, "Don't even fuck with him."
I think the better thing was it Wash and Judge last week?
Oh, that was great.
That was
But while we're talking baseball, before we head out to halftime, I want to give. I remember I told you I had a stat for you, and that stat, James, is 59-0. And do you know what I'm speaking of?
the number of times you brought up the New York Mets on this show, and I've actually gone, and like looked for something else to do.
Nope, that actually comes from college baseball this year. And the NAIA national champion LSU Shreveport went 59-0. They ran the table. They hit 500 as a team, basically.
We also had history when we looked at the men's and women's college World Series for the first time ever since seeding began back in for both sports in 1986. The number one overall ranked team in the nation is not going to the World Series in either. The Texas A&M Aggies did not even make the Super Regionals when they got beat by Liberty, and then today Vanderbilt gets beat. They're not even going to Super Regionals.
Who beat Vandy?
Wasn't it UCLA? No, that was
Dayton, Ohio's own Wright State University.
That's right. I was thinking UCLA because I was watching part of the UCLA Tennessee elimination game earlier.
What the fuck was that
in the
call?
Women's College World Series.
What was that call? My aunt put it. I've got to watch it because there was some kind of call. They almost played the game under protest today.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wright State, the alma mater of Cleveland Indians playoff hero Brian Anderson, knocked off Vandy today. Gotta love it.
I don't know if I don't know it's because of the fact that I'm watching so much more baseball and baseball bat bros and softball chick, and man, can that girl rake.
Jesus.
Men of culture, we have gathered here again.
You love the angle of that camera, don't you?
All I'm going to say. Not for nothing, she can absolutely pop.
Dude, she's got one of the prettiest left-handed swings I've ever seen. And that's not being a dirty old man. That's being dead-ass serious.
But I think I've got so much. I cannot wait for the final series of the Women's College World Series, and then I can't wait for the Men's College World Series to get started here next weekend.
I tell you what, the Men's College World Series is going to be interesting because they got a lot of lower seeds are going from the Super Regionals, starting with Wright State, who took out Vandy today. That's going to be very interesting. That's something I'm going to want to watch. Of course, anytime they're at Rosenblatt, it's always fun.
Yeah.
But what do you say we hit a halftime, take a couple minutes, get a drink, and then let's wrap this sucker up quick in the blast there.
Absolutely. We will I'll get the graphic off the screen. I will put a new countdown on, so it's not like at the top of the show where I couldn't actually get any of my graphics correct. We'll see you guys in 5 minutes.
See you in 5. And we're back. Dude, I had to get Tums during halftime. Aldi's has gluten-free General Tso's chicken. So Sundays I either do pizza or waffles. Bobby loves Belgian waffles. And had a little milk issue today, and a lot of the recipe for the Belgian waffles is milk. So I had the leftovers and paying for it for some reason. Usually it doesn't bother me. Maybe it's hold on.
Yeah, that could do it.
Yeah, it did.
Which is kind of funny is because I got to sneak into the office a few minutes early tomorrow and kind of vacuum the floors because we just found out on Friday we got a surprise visitor coming in that we weren't even aware of at the last minute. One of the new clients we just picked up is flying in from Belgium.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one of those on the 9th. My regional's coming.
So Told my boss, I said, "You're French, he's Belgian. You guys are kind of sort of neighbors. Uh, have him bring some waffles with him."
Never mind waffles, bring fucking chocolate. Dude.
Yeah, but he's gonna be there in the morning. It's do you really want chocolate that early in the morning? It's like,
I'm sorry, have we met? Oh, fuck. Do you not remember I was the guy who lived on Cherry Coke in college and wanted it intravenously? Like at 7 a.m.? Come on, dude. Do you want chocolate that early in the morning? What the hell kind of question is that?
I mean, do we have to bring Al Bundy into this with that one woman? It's not just for breakfast anymore.
Oh, God. I have told you in front of others and privately, Big Rican is not just a clever name, it is a lifestyle. Do you want
As
chocolate?
I got the
Belgian?
I've like started a countdown. Like by this time next year, I want to have a whole bunch of things like changed up, possibly with my career. I want to put some more money in the bank and I want to get in the best shape of my life because I actually just got a notification on Facebook the other day that they're already starting to plan my 30-year high school reunion next year.
Shut up. That means mine's a year after that, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Because I didn't attend the 20. I definitely went to the 10. I didn't go to the 20. There's part of me that does really want to go to the 30.
I hung out with Pants a little bit at my 20. And we all know the Lord of the Pants is an absolute and utter genius.
Stand-up comedian, okay pants.
You know what, though? Does that shock anyone that knows him? No. No, not shocking at all, to be very blunt. Whoa, we got big. Okay.
Yeah, that blew up wrong.
Weird.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
What's in the blast this evening, James?
We are stacked in the blast. We're definitely not going to take an hour for this, but we do actually have quite a bit of news here, and we kind of want to start with a story that broke late this week, and that's going to be the one all the way on the far right there, as a lawsuit has been filed, a civil lawsuit has been filed against New Orleans Pelicans star forward Zion Williamson, alleging abuse with potential rape.
I mean, after the whole porn star thing, you knew something was going to come out
Yeah.
about him. I just can't. I told you when you told me about it, I was going to read up on it. I read the article on ESPN, and I have to say this. You have got in the post R. Kelly Diddy world, you have got to be one dumb motherfucker to fall into this again. I mean, and here's the thing though, and I'm going to say it and I'm going to leave it at that. Zion's going to be available opening night next year. Trevor Bauer is still playing in Japan.
Take everything with Zion's injury history aside here. I'm going to say something probably even a little bit worse than that, and I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay.
It's another scandal along these lines that came out of Duke.
I have something for this.
Emotional damage.
I mean, we can make light where we want to, but Granted, the lacrosse team was completely exonerated when it was later found that the entire case was fabricated. You
Yeah.
know, is would this be true? Wouldn't surprise me. Is it completely fabricated? That wouldn't surprise me either.
No, in the age of, and let me say this: if it is true, he should burn. If it is fabricated, the person fabricating should burn. I don't think it's right on either way. Um, you know, but the funny thing is, I think the only one where we've seen someone actually pay consequences for trying to do this wasn't Bauer's case.
Which he was later found to be exonerated, and yet they won't lift. They won't let him back in.
And she's going to do time for fraud, dude.
I'm thinking this goes a little bit beyond the actual story and the allegation, and maybe goes a little bit more towards the character. Let's look at some recent cases here very quickly, and let's not open up this can of worms. We could do this another night if more comes out about this story. Watson
Agreed.
was not the worst character. Deshaun Watson was not the worst character guy on the field. Off the field, we all know everything. Justin Tucker was not a character guy on the field. Zion Williamson has not been a character guy on the field. You can question his work ethic all we want and his injury history with his weight. Trevor Bauer definitely is a little bit of a character guy.
He is. I agree with you. Having said that, he signed a $40 million a year contract with the Dodgers, or 30, whatever it was. This came out. He got tossed. He's been exonerated. The person who said the things is going to do time. If your issue is his off-field stuff, get the fuck over it.
Yeah, but also you got to keep in mind that he's 34 years old. He doesn't have that much longer left of a window to be able to get back into the major leagues to begin with, and he's been gone for 2 years. But
More than that.
he's got his Mickey Mouse Cy Young, but he's also the same guy that decided to fuck around with a drone and cost his team a World Series 7 years ago.
Well, you remember he did. It was holy shit. That was 9 years ago already. But remember, he pitched well in the World Series once the finger was fully healed. It was one game. I think they won that game too, by the way.
It was game 2, and I think they lost that game.
No, I'm talking about in the play. That was in Toronto.
I thought it was against the Cubs in the World Series that he
cut the
reopened
finger
it.
in the LC. He reopened it, but he made 2 starts that series, and he pitched good in both of them. Well, he pitched decent in both of them. I'll say that. Yes, on-field BS. Bauer definitely has all 3 of those guys trumped as to what he brings as far as his personality. Doesn't erase the fact that the shit reason that he got tossed for turned out to be false. The difference is Tucker and Watson are going to get to play. Well, maybe not Watson because he's dog shit. Tucker's going to get to kick again. Even with this. And his is worse than Bauer's because Bauer's was fabricating, and Tucker and Watson are 2 dudes who did it.
Because that's the
We don't
thing
know
with
about Zion yet.
An NFL kicker can kick until they're almost 40. I want to say Tucker's 34.
I'm not saying he can't kick till he's 34, but he's a scumbag and shouldn't play.
Right. And even if he doesn't, he can go play in the UFL for all that matters.
Yeah, go to Canada. Who cares? So, yeah, more to come with Zion, obviously. James, why don't you tell us all about that crazed Indy 500 that we were not allowed to talk to you during?
It was for a race that was incredibly anticlimactic. I want to say in maybe the last 10 laps. It might have been the most chaotic first 30 laps of a race I've ever seen. There was a little bit of rain earlier in the day, and it wasn't a very heavy rain in Indianapolis, and it delayed the start of the race by almost 45 minutes. The air temperature was 66 degrees. The track temperature, I want to say, was about 78. Very, very cool. Which typically the drivers like to have it at the track temperature at least above 90. Even if it's a little bit cooler of a day. The drivers are on the pace lap, and Tom Brady had actually, Michael Strahan was already driving the pace car, and they're
I
warming
saw
up the
that.
tires, and Penske car Scott McLaughlin spins on the front straightaway on the pace lap and hits the wall and ends his day before they even turn a lap under green. And that's how our day got started.
Yeah, I saw that Strahan drove the pace car and then had to go back out and drive it again
Yeah.
before he even got a chance to get out of the car. That was pretty cool, by the way. All kidding aside, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Strahan did that.
And Brady, turning a couple of laps in the two-man Indy car, before Strahan and everyone came out and they booed the living hell out of Brady.
Oh, fuck him.
Yeah. Um, but we had a number of crashes, in the first half of the race. Alexander Rossi, we saw his car catch on fire in the pits. Renus VK crashed five laps later. And then the surgeon, Alex Palou, passes Marcus Ericsson on lap 180, 189, and then basically gets runs into some lap traffic. They're telling him save, save, save on fuel. They realize he's got the fuel to get to the end. They tell him to go. He runs into lap traffic and basically uses them as a draft and claims his first Indy 500 title. For Palou, not only his first Indy 500 title, but listen to how dominant this year has been for Alex Palou, the first Spaniard ever to win the 500. His fifth win in 6 races already this year. And
Jesus.
he's the 2-time defending series champion. And he's going for now. He's got 3 in the last 4, and he's well on his way. He's up over 100 points in the standings already through 7 races, looking for 3 in a row and 4 out of the last 5.
That's Tiger-esque at the turn of the century.
That's Jimmy Johnson-esque dominance.
That's true. Yeah.
He's 28 years old. He's got 16 wins on circuit. He's already tied for 27th in the over 120-year history of IndyCar and kart and open wheels in North America. He's already tied for 27th in all-time wins.
That's crazy.
And you figure he's probably going to get 3 or 4 more this year at this rate.
Most likely, the way he's driving, it seems to me that when you get a guy who's that dominant on the racetrack, it's not just him in the car, it's the entire team is just clicking on all cylinders. I hope he does it. I really do.
One team who's not clicking are the Roger Penske cars, and good for them, because for the second straight year they actually failed. They were actually caught cheating going into the race itself. So they moved 2 of his 3 cars to the back of the field. So that would be Will Power and Joseph Newgarden. And Newgarden was looking to become the first driver in history to win 3 straight Indy 500s, as he was the 2023 and 24 winner. Newgarden starts 32nd. Power starts dead last and 33rd. And Newgarden gets himself all the way up until up to 9th, and then has a fuel issue on lap 113, and his day is basically done. And then McLaughlin, the other Penske car, we all know what happened there. Ericsson ends up failing a post-race inspection and gets moved from second all the way to the back of the field. He keeps the prize money, but loses all of his standing points for the race.
Yeah, I saw that. You sent that to me too. Took Bobby to the park today. Guy comes over, his little guy. They were fishing before that. He sits down. He's got a hat in his head from May 30th, 1993. He was at the Indy 500. He then took his wife to the 100th running a few years ago. He's got family out there. They go almost every year.
I have already put in an application for May 24th, 2026, and that will be the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Really? Yeah.
Bucket list. It's the first time in, I want to say, like 17 or 18 years it's fallen on my birthday. I'm trying to make it a goal. If I can get decent tickets, I will go next year.
Yeah, and I hope you do. And may you enjoy the
I will be amongst the 253,000 in the grandstands. I will probably not be one of the 125,000 in the snake pit in the infield area.
No, you don't look at sit in the grandstands, dude.
I just got to make sure I get like one of them padded seats because of all the bleachers out there.
Yes, padding, most important.
I'll get a hotel for the night or 2 nights and then come back on Memorial Day.
Exactly.
And again, the race ends early enough. I've actually still got the energy. I might as well just come home that night. I could still be home by dusk.
Yeah, if you're jacked up, which you probably will be, knowing you. So I hope that works for you, man.
4-hour drive. I mean, granted, it's going to take
it's
an hour. It's going to take me at least an hour to get out of the parking lot, maybe 2.
Yeah,
I'd still be home by 9, 10 o'clock at the worst.
And sleep in the next day.
It's Memorial Day. All I'm going to do is actually get up and go to the gym that day if I'm not like, seeing someone or got other plans for that day,
No, I got you. And that would definitely be worth taking a weekend off for us. That'd be fucking amazing, dude. Jim, let's talk UFC real quick because I'd like to do the championship last if we could. What happened now?
A UFC fight night was last night. The main event was a women's flyweight bout between Erin Blatchfield, title contender Erin Blatchfield, and another potential title contender, Macy Barber. Barber missed weight earlier in the day by half a pound, and she was going to end up giving up her I want to say it was 20% of her purse for the fight. And then they actually said literally within 3 minutes of both ladies walking out that the fight was called off because Barber had a medical issue. And they're not saying what, but I'm wondering if it's partially because of the weight cut. And they've already actually they interviewed kind of both ladies, and Blatchfield says she does not want the rematch. It's not that she's ducking Barber. She doesn't feel that Barber's in her league right now. Even though Barber is 14-2 and Blatchfield is 13-2, and Blatchfield is ranked number 4 in the weight division rankings. Barber, I want to say, is like 8th or 9th. Even though Barber, with that phenomenal record, has not been very convincing in I want to say 3 of her last 4 fights. Blatchfield definitely could have used it with a win here. Blatchfield could have possibly put her herself in contention for a title shot, but I've never seen a fight called off literally as they were walking their way to the curtain to come out.
I wonder. Now you've been watching both men and women's UFC, Ultimate Fighting, or World MMA, a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
And I pay attention on the periphery because you like to talk about it, and I want to, make sure I'm at least semi coherent about it. Has a fight ever been called off because they did a blood test and one of the fighters was pregnant?
They usually do that weeks in advance.
Okay. Again, I got no idea.
Yeah, it's
that'd be a hell of a good reason to cancel a fight.
Yeah, I think I want to say. I mean, I've seen fighters come back a little too soon after their pregnancy. I think Liz Carmouche did it once. I don't. I'm trying to remember her name. It was not Alexa Grasso. It was not Holly Holm. I can picture her. I cannot think of her name because she's also a former world champion. It was the girl that knocked out the Lioness. Juliana Pena,
Okay.
the girl who knocked out Amanda Nunes.
Okay.
They thought that she came back way too early from one of the fights, um, from her pregnancy for a fight. It cost her. She ends up rebounding and knocking out, you know, the one person we never thought would get knocked out in Amanda Nunes. Um,
Mhm.
but and I'm a Macy Barber fan, not just because of the fact that she's like the UFC version of Dakota Ditcheva. She's the Barbie doll. She's definitely not bad to look at. She's young, um, but she's got a lot of talent. I think she's a better wrestler than she is a striker. Um, but I think Blatchfield actually, this because now of anything, I've actually seen fighters, you know, go into a little bit of a tailspin having to do a weight cut this fast. I'm not sure if it actually would have affected Barber's performance because I still think Blatchfield would have won the fight. I don't think it would have been, I think it would have been more decision and kind of grind things out than sudden knockout, um, or stoppage or anything like that. But now this actually means Blatchfield. I can understand her frustration because now she's got to put in all this training for Macy Barber. It gets called off within the 3 minutes of coming out, and now she's got to go back and figure out when is my next fight and when's my next camp. 'Cause it's not like they're
Yeah.
gonna give her a fight in 3 weeks. They may not give her another fight for another 3 months, just
Yeah,
with
no,
the
I
scheduling.
gotcha. Well, I mean, you know, if you're trying to cut weight and you got to make yourself that sick, they're, it's gets mathematic at that point. So let's hit the Walker Cup there and a second consecutive championship in the PWHL.
Is it safe to say, even though the league is only 2 years old, that we got a dynasty brewing up there in St. Paul?
No, it's not.
It's
It's
gonna make
really
it
not. Um,
it's gonna make it very, it's gonna make it very, I don't wanna say strange or watered down or anything because now we've got teams actually have to submit their expansion protected lists on Tuesday, and then the expansion draft is I want to say it's next Monday the 9th, and then or I should say next Sunday. The PWHL draft is going to be later this month, and then we've got the PWHL awards coming up on the 25th. Um, but in a thrilling 4-game series, the Minnesota Frost knock off the Ottawa Charge, 3 games to 1, and claim their second consecutive Walter Cup. And the Ottawa Charge end up going a little Connor McDavid here as their goaltender. Her name is eluding me at the moment. Um, Gwyneth Phillips. She was a second round pick in this year's draft. Wins the Alana Kloss playoff MVP, their version of a Conn Smythe. She goes 4-0-4 in the playoffs with a 1.23 goals allowed average and had the only shutout in the playoffs amongst any
wow.
goaltender.
Wow. That's standing on your head.
Um, all 4 games of this series go to overtime. Game 3 went to triple overtime, and all 4 games finished with 2-1 scores.
And if I remember correctly, you told me it was a former Buckeye that scored the winning goal in the championship game.
Liz Shepers buried a rebound at 11:59 of overtime. Um, it was Shepers' second goal of the playoffs, which is hilarious considering Shepers in 2 seasons with the Frost has only scored 2 goals. Both of them were this year. She scored 63 goals in 5 years with the Buckeyes.
I remember the name because she was on the national title run.
She was not.
Oh no, that's right.
She was on one of the teams that got to the Frozen Four, but she was not a part of. She was already in
National
the
title.
PWHL when the Buckeyes broke through and won the title over Wisconsin 2 years ago.
The year after she left.
And
Man,
Shepers,
that would piss me off.
Shepard's made history as well because uh you gotta I gotta go back and look and see which NHL players have ever done this. But she's got the cup clincher in back-to-back years for the Frost.
Oh, that's right. You told me that, dude. I mean,
She got
that's just good timing.
She got the winner in game 4 against Boston last year. She got the winner in it. She got the overtime winner in game 4 against Ottawa this year. And a lot of people got to remember that Minnesota kind of backed their way into the playoffs. They in Boston finished with 44 points in the standings in the regular season because all teams only play 30 games. Minnesota ended up with 10 regulation wins. Boston ended up with 9. So
Oh,
Minnesota got in on a tiebreaker, knocked off
that's
Toronto in 4 in the opening round, and then won the cup. Uh, and I showed you I sent you a picture. Gorgeous, gorgeous trophy.
oh, that's the best looking one that I've seen. Yes, the Stanley Cup is majestic. Um, the Lombardi Trophy is what it is. The who's the NBA trophy named after?
Larry O'Brien.
The Larry O'Brien Trophy is nice. The baseball one is god awful garbage now. Um, even the CFP one is pretty cool looking.
It's not bad.
That
Yeah.
is, yeah, that's the best looking one that I've seen.
Couple of more quick notes on this. There were over 11,000 fans in attendance in the XL Energy Center. Very, very high class of them is that even after uh, the um, the Frost kind of stormed the ice, tossed gloves and helmets and everything, took them a little bit longer with the helmets because the PWHL regulates that they wear full cages.
Yep.
Um, but the fans gave a nearly 1 minute standing ovation to the charge in the post game speeches that were done by amongst several Billie Jean King. Um,
Nice.
and there was her name is eluding me right now, but she's one of the co-hosts um, of a very, very popular, growing uh, female hockey podcast based out of Canada. Um, Ilana Kloss herself, who was an international legend for a lot of years, was there to
Mhm.
present her trophy. They present the one of the co-founders of the league presents the Walter Cup itself. But very, very cool for them to actually see, to give Ottawa that level of recognition. The entire charge roster remains on the ice until Phillips receives the Alana Kloss trophy, and then they leave the ice. Um, and I want to say she might be my new favorite player for number one, how funny she is, but number two, how well spoken she is. And keep an eye on Minnesota Frost forward Taylor Heisey. Now, Heisey won the Kloss Award last year. She was the number one overall pick by the Frost last year, which makes her the first ever draft pick in the history of the PWHL. Um, Heisey, I think, has got, even though she took a little bit of a step back this year, she may not be as marketable as some of you know, the Barbies like you've certainly heard the name, you've probably seen her, Renata Fost in Toronto. Um, but I've gotta say, as a guy, Taylor Heisey is certainly not bad to look at, and she has got all the talent in the world to be able to be the big star to carry the PWHL even after they expand, coming up officially here next week.
Yeah. So a lot of great things coming from there. Of course, we have WNBA expansion coming. I don't know if you saw it, but Kim Ng, the former president of the Miami Marlins, is now the commissioner of AUSL softball, a professional women's softball league that at Major League Baseball is a stakeholder in. So this is going to get some pub, and we're going to see some of these ladies who are playing for the Bananas left, right, and center actually play their sport professionally.
I did see that they were looking into I don't want to say acquisition, but there was something that was looking into. I don't want to say the validity of the deal, but definitely the specifics of it. So it may not be as cut and dry as
That was something
as
different because that was the NFLPA and the MLBPA have something going on. This was actually Rob Manfred, Major League Baseball themselves, the entity, becoming a stakeholder in this league, mostly because Kim Ng is running it, a former executive within baseball. No, that's something I want to research with you and get into in the next couple of weeks. What's going on with that?
Did you also see who was in the front row last night in Indianapolis cheering on the Pacers?
No, I didn't.
Caitlin.
Good for her.
Because I guess her and Tyrese have gotten really, really close as friends lately.
Did you see that their ratings have tanked since she got hurt?
She'll be back in a couple of weeks, though.
With one exception. There is a page on YouTube and TikTok of guys who do professional gambling who put every dime they have the last 6 games into a Angel Reese will miss the first shot bet, and they have won every single game. Dude,
there's another one on TikTok. I imagine, I think you've seen this guy, but he actually has now come out with the WNBA all first and second team, all smash team.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of WNBA, did you see Paige the other night said to a ref, "You'll have 15 travels every time she touches the ball"?
That's the one thing that that the injury to Caitlin is really we all miss, is because we're now we actually have to wait because Paige is in concussion protocol. We're not getting Caitlin versus Paige, which is the matchup that everybody wanted.
Yeah, agreed. But Jim, it's time for band practice, James.
This is actually where the defect of not being able to do this in the background comes into play.
Oh, I got you.
And this is actually why I was trying to get that counter put up earlier. So trying to actually figure out how to be able to do this during halftime without getting it to activate.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator, the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is the moment when James and I give each other names in and out of the sports world, and we come up with the first thing that comes to our minds. It has given us some of the most classic moments of the Wise Guys Sports Show, and is now also had the most views of anything the Wise Guys Sports Show has done in its near 4.5 year tenure. But the main reason people love it now is because of the Wisey Chronicle. The moment when James says something off the wall, and I usually almost pee myself in the middle of our show. So, James, if you could please reveal the Chronicle today.
Quite frankly, I'm a worthless fucking fat ass who shits his pants.
They were talking about doing a Doritos Locos Taco type thing, but it be covered in Cheeto dust instead.
That's what a lot of people are saying, is it's not bronzer, it's Cheeto dust.
Yeah. My favorite is the JD Vance with the Cheeto dust and the makeup brush. By the way, that has been immortalized in AI Baby. So it's incumbent upon me to give James the first name of the night. And I will do so. I'm gonna go a little off the beaten path here. And I did mention his name earlier, and I want to get your take on him. James, your first name in the YZ Translator is Detroit Tigers center fielder Javier Baez.
I mean, um, we remember, guys that have been around in Detroit for a number of years, most notably and most recently Miggy. Um, I don't want to say it's a change of pace that's working for them, but you figure when the Tigers are as loaded as they are, and they try to pull an experiment like this, we all know that the Spencer Torkelson thing is still an ongoing experiment, and they're winning with it. Tarek Skubal is an experiment that, with as hard as he throws, we're still waiting on the bottom to drop out, but right now it's working. The Javi Baez thing is working. The Detroit Tigers, as an experiment, are working and excelling.
Yeah. I mean, and he's, by the way, never mind his defense, which has always been great. No matter what position he's played, he played third, he played short, he played second. Um, he's playing Gold Glove caliber center field, and he's hitting 280.
It's I'm not it's not meant to really throw shade, but for every one of your Mookies and your Sotos who aren't producing this year, even though Mookie's, on his way back from injury, you've got Javi, who's the prime example of just being consistent, pushing through, and coming out clean on the other side. A la, he's basically doing the Andy Dufresne right now as I
Yeah.
watch a whole bunch of people reacting to Shawshank for the first time over the weekend. So,
What? What do you got for me, dude?
Michael, your first name in the Wisey translator this evening. He's back. It's a little bit posthumous here, and I'd like to kind of get your take on it. And it's the newly renovated or newly adjusted rules for the College Football Hall of Fame, which actually means now this gentleman is eligible, and that is one Mike Leach.
My favorite coach that's never wearing scarlet and gray. Not just because he wanted to use a little person and toss them over the line to get a first down, not because he pulled his kicker literally out of the stands. Did you hear about that one?
Yeah,
Um, Mike Leach made college football fun. And in the words of Tom Selleck and Mr. Baseball, it's a game. Games are supposed to be fun.
before you light somebody's shoe on fire.
Well, yeah. Or toss a midget over the line of scrimmage. Um, in a game that has become about the dollars and cents more often than not, Mike Leach made it fun. Whether it was something off the wall that he said, or his style of offense, or the way he was just excited about his players, Mike Leach made the game fun. And he deserves to be in. And had he not passed when he did, would have been in.
But and I'm saying this as honest and objective as I can be. He only had 158 wins. Yes, he did go to a bowl every single year except for two. Once he goes to Washington State. And it was two of his first 3 years. He even had a couple of years where they went to a bowl and ended up having a 500 or just under 500 record.
Mm-hmm.
But is it really worth College Football Hall of Fame caliber? And I say that with respect.
Leach was more than record. And I think that's why he would be one that gets in. You have all these coaches that get in their record, fine. There are certain people who should be in there for impact on the game to go with record, to go. Remember, air raid had gone away until Mike Leach started doing it again. And now it's really all you see. So I think it's more hand in hand with other things.
Because he
I
only had
think
two conference championships. His none of his team only his 2018 Washington team ever finished the season ranked in the top 10.
No, I agree. This isn't just a dollar. This isn't just a X's and O's going in. This is the entire package. So yes, I'm okay with this. There are very few times that I think a Hall of Fame should lower their standards at all to let someone in, but Mike Leach is one of the few, in my opinion, respectable changes.
Could we possibly be seeing something in the near future where they kind of, and I'm saying possibly for all the Hall of Fames where coaches go in, maybe kind of going to something like what the WTA does or the PGA does, where it literally becomes once you hit a certain mark, you're going in. Because you can quantify that with coaches, and typically a lot of the good ones are stalwarts that are there for a long time, or even if they change, it's something you can quantify because players are just such a short sample size in the NFL when you get in because you got a very long body of work. If a college football coach is going in, it's a lot different than a college football player going in because that coach has got a much more expanded and broadened impact because of the time frame involved.
It seems to me that having certain benchmarks to be met will muddle the water or muddy the water. Because, like, let's use baseball for an example. It used to be 3,000 hits or 500 home runs or 300 wins. You're getting it. And then the game changed. No one's getting 300 wins ever
strikeouts.
again.
Yeah,
No one's getting to 300 wins again. Maybe we get a guy to 500 homers. But the benchmarks are gone. Once you set the benchmarks, you change them, then you get the argument: is it the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Really Good? Coaches are different though,
yeah.
because you're talking about a lot longer of a sample size. I would say college football, you got to get to 200 wins, in my opinion, because that's, first of all, that's 20 years of 10 wins, which is pretty fucking good.
But if you don't get to 200 wins, there's got to be like an
70%
underlying thing. Like you've got a national championship and at least 2 conference titles. It's not like you win a national title, you automatically go in. Like Ryan Day wouldn't get in, as it stands. If Ryan Day won another conference title to go along with that, then possibly, it's again, just as like I'm just throwing a name out there because he's the freshest name in our mind.
Yeah. I would say Days won 90% of his games, so there's the opposite side of the argument. No, he's only got the one title. He's only got the 2 conference championships, but he's won 90% of his games. I think you can see that in college football, though. I think you can see them setting, never mind a win percentage, but a benchmark for wins. Because win percentage, it gets you into too gray of an area. For all of the great win percentage he had, Urban only coached 17 years, if that, as a head coach.
Yeah.
7 at Ohio State. How many years is he at Florida? 5?
I want to say 5 or 6. Yeah, but he's got 2 titles.
Yeah, but he's got 2. Did he have 2 or 3? He's got 3 titles
Overall.
Yeah. But yeah, so and to answer your question, yeah, let's do that. Let's just now to get it done with. But good show, friend.
Yeah, it's even though we actually had to cut it a few minutes short because of what's going on over there. We're still going to get out in under 2, but we will be back with you guys next Sunday. We're actually going to be able to break down the first few games of both the NBA and the NHL finals. We'll talk a little bit more baseball as we're actually going to be, we're now starting to turn our attention towards the All-Star break, even though that's still pretty close to a month away. This is now we're kind of hitting the doldrums a little bit, Mike, because so now we're going to be able to get under that 90 minutes because we're not going to have enough sports that are out there to be able to fill.
I mean, I got a couple of ideas of things we can do. I think I'm gonna start doing pick one stat a week to give to you. Since you're the stat guy, I'm gonna pull one out of my ass somewhere like tonight.
We got the WNBA going to be in full swing here. Again, we're going to have some baseball. We're going to be able to start looking ahead to the U.S. Open here in a few weeks. We'll be on the air, albeit briefly, probably Father's Day night, and we'll be able to recap that. But yeah, we're now starting to get towards the thinnest part of the entire sports year, where we're only going to have basketball. We're going to have ladies basketball, golf, and baseball to be able to fill our summer until training camps open.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into the Browns in the coming weeks because there's a lot of stuff coming out of Berea that makes you want to jump off a bridge.
Yes and no, but it's a little bit more promising than it's definitely been in years past.
Yeah,
It's just I don't know if promising is the right word, but or optimistic, but we don't have to worry about a scandal for the first time in 3 years.
I was say it's not felonious as it has been in the last few years.
Even though there is a report that he does want to come back and play, but there's no way that they are going to let him because they want to use that insurance money to buy him out next June. We actually can now start to put a clock up there. I think I will work on that for next week. Countdown until June 1, 2026, when he can be officially bought out and released.
365 days.
That might be a new segment on the show.
I have an idea. We'll talk off the air.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that sometime tomorrow or Tuesday.
We'll see you guys next week.
Everybody have a good night. We'll see you soon.